tasks don't really motivate people.
Yeah.
But if there's a vision of making a difference in the lives of others, everybody wants to make a difference.
So let's get straight into it. We've got a bunch of different things that we want to chat about. John specializes in helping businesses with teams, but also helping people really plan and create a vision for their business. So it works really well with what this podcast is all about, which is helping you make your brand stick. So first of all, John, just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are and your journey to get to where you are today.
Okay. Well, I have been around for a little while now. Got a little bit of grey hair to show for it.
Yeah.
But I've actually, in my business journey or my work career, I started out in the church. I was a pastor of a church. We actually started a church with a group of about 8 people.
Awesome.
And that consolidated over a couple of years. We had about 400 people, and then grew that to 1,000.
Wow.
After 24 years I was there altogether. Lots of young adults and teenagers. Average age of our church was 24.
Nice.
So it was very, very modern, contemporary music, lots of high-tech activity.
Yeah.
And we were empowering young people to fulfill their purpose in their life locally. We're serving about 3,000 people locally, and then overseas, we take teams overseas 4 or 5 times a year to Thailand, Indonesia, New Guinea, Denmark. We had partnerships in different places, and that was great experience so the church was incredibly successful for everybody but me. So I was busily helping lots of people find their way, and somehow in the midst of it lost my way, which is incredibly ironic. So basically I noticed probably 14, 15 years in, took a bit of long service leave at that point, was away for 8 or 10 weeks, came back and was very refreshed, but quickly got back in under the busyness and the heaviness of the role. And got to a point sort of somewhere after that where I'd get to a day off. I often try and have a day off on a Friday, and I didn't know how to relax. I couldn't unwind. I was happier working than I was enjoying my own company or enjoying my family.
Yeah.
And that was a problem that I didn't know what to do about. So with some things you don't know what to do about, I put my head in the sand a little bit to my own detriment, and ended up to a point where I was burning out. I was very high functioning, but burning out emotionally, just very dry and barren. And when you get burned out and you lose your compassion and your empathy and ability to connect with people at a deep level, I like functioning in my role and doing all the bits and pieces of my role, but not really being fulfilled. I felt quite lonely, and it was difficult. And in the midst of that, my marriage was struggling too, because I was lonely, she was lonely. Again, didn't know how to fix it. Didn't reach out for the right kind of help at the right time. Lots of lessons looking back, but at the time we were just so busy, and I enjoyed being needed and getting applause. Well, not so much applause, but having lots of people appreciating what I did.
Yeah.
Role, but then not always being appreciated at home, and not increasing amount, not really happy with myself. So had to resign. I got to a point where I needed to resign back. This is 2007, so that's 14 years ago now, and spent a couple of years just working out what on earth happened. Worked with a psychologist for 6 months, did some personal growth development stuff, some courses, really worked on myself, which was important. And it's very important you do that somewhere in your 40s and 50s, earlier the better, really. And so that was kind of a rediscovering of myself and my purpose and my journey and my relationship with God. all of the things that were kind of foundational for me had got a bit tarnished and jarred, and I got back to a place where I was functioning freely again, emotionally full rather than empty. And a big key to that was exercising regularly. Physical exercise helps emotional health. Looking after myself better, learning how to relax and stop and unwind, and started playing cricket again, doing things that were ordinary things, but helped me be me more.
Yeah.
And I ran a business for a couple of years for somebody else. I managed a small business in local areas, testing swimming pool water for swimming pools and selling chemical pumps and filters, and managing a team of about 9 in the summer, about 4 or 5 in the winter. And that was easy. I enjoyed that. I found it easy. The business grew quite significantly. This was during the GFC in 2007, 8, 9. That showed me that I have skills to grow, not just a church, but organizations, businesses. So I also did some business coach training at the time of an evening, and my marriage I'd separated from my wife, unfortunately, and so I had some time. I was on my own and did all of that, made the most of it, and regrouped, and then started coaching businesses in 2010. And the drive behind that was I realized how, as I started to connect with business owners, how many of them were actually where I was, running the church, busy, working long hours, working very hard, quite drained emotionally and functioning, but not really enjoying life. So that became a bit of a passion of mine. So that's the kind of a short version of
awesome.
Long, but
that's great. That gives us like awesome context. So you've led big teams and you've obviously been through a lot, but now you're on the other side of that. And I think what this podcast is all about is I want us to be able to help people who are trying to make their business or their passion grow, and they're trying to push past this like barrier that they're hitting, but and making something stick really means like there's momentum, there's a message that's getting out there that's impacting people. So what would you say was the point where you found like your momentum to take off to a new level really shifted into gear?
For my current business, you mean?
For your current business, or just even for your life, like obviously going through that, and then how did you then make your business, because your business is very well known, it's very well trusted, but even just your ability to help businesses, grow, well, I
first had to prove to myself. So probably the first 4 or 5 years, actually, I was working with all kinds of business owners. I started out being willing to help anybody, and then realized fairly quickly that I'm best helping business owners clarify their vision and work out what they want from their business, and then build a strategy, create a really good strategy for how to achieve that, and then help them get their team on board. So good at helping the business owner lead themselves, and then help them with the people side of their business. So I realize I help some businesses with the systems and processes. I can do that, but it really does my head in, and I don't enjoy it. And then there's some businesses that are a financial mess and a quagmire, and they should be making money, but they're not, because they've got too much debt, too many issues. They don't understand how to minimize tax and make things work. So again, I can help with that. I know how to read financial statements. I know how to make sure the finances are working, but it's not my forte. So I realized if I built some referral partners. I said, okay, there's some business coaches were accountants, and they come from a business with the financial lens. So I refer to them if it's a financial mess. I've got a couple of colleagues who focus on the systems in business. And if that's the issue, then I refer to them. So I learn to say no to what I'm not strong at, and say yes to what I am strong at. And that actually helped my business grow. because I was getting better results because I was focusing on my strengths.
Yeah.
And then getting more confident that I knew what I was doing in the business arena. Church arena, I was fine, but that was the past. Now I needed to work out in the business arena. And in our church, we had 5 businesses operating. We had 40 staff. We had $2 million budget. We had buildings that we built and bought, and all. So there's lots of things were transferable, but I had to build my confidence in a whole new area. So I did all of that, and then that was first thing working on me. Second thing, in terms of building my brand, I joined the local Chamber of Commerce, but found the local area. I live out near the Blue Mountain, in the lower Blue Mountains. The local area wasn't, the business owners I was connecting with weren't really ready to invest a lot in their teams.
Yeah.
So I got some clients, but it was limited. So I actually moved and joined the business chamber in the Sydney Hills area in about 2014. And that was a good step for me. There's lots more businesses that were aspiring to really grow strongly, had the attitude and the mindset. We were willing to invest in our people. And so I got more opportunities to work with business owners and with teams through that engagement through the Sydney Hills Chamber. So that after about 2 years there, I was asked to help with the small group program within the chamber, and that became a branding opportunity for me. Yeah. So they, in return for my time and expertise running the small groups, I got significant profile as a support partner, and that lifted my business to a whole nother level. Yeah. Profile, and the return on that was very significant. I gained 5-10 clients through that in a couple of years, which translates into $150,000 worth of business for me. So that was a very significant step. And then if I look at the journey and the points where it lifted, I wrote a book. I joined a business school called Thought Leaders Business School in 2015. And the purpose of joining that group, they help smart people. Supposedly I qualified. They help smart people monetize their IP. So all the things I've learned through my life, but to know how to make that work in terms of programs and training programs, coaching and so forth, mentoring. So I wrote a book called Integrate. In 2016, it was published, Integrate Why Work-Life Balance is a Myth and What You Really Need to Create a Fulfilling Lifestyle. Yeah. And it summed up a lot of my journey, a lot of my learning from my painful burnout journey. Yeah. And all the things I'd learned about how to integrate work with the rest of what's important in my life. So I don't believe that work and life are two opposing things. You've got to balance somehow. Like you can switch off from work and have a life, and then you leave your life and go to work. It's not how it works. And if you're a high achiever, if you're passionate about what you do, you're always thinking about your work. You wake up in the night solving problems. You get ideas from strange places. Like I go to a movie and get an idea for a business. Oh wow, that's something I can use in. So you're always aware and open and thinking. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So and go on. I was going to say, for the people watching that don't know, I had the privilege of making a video for John. And when we dived into all this stuff, it was like super clear how the passion behind what you do is linked to your why. And I think it's very interesting the way you're saying it, is that when you saw the biggest shift was when you focused down on the one thing that you want to focus on.
Yes.
And it's funny that is the one thing that you're most passionate about, because you've been through that. It's like connected to a place of you that is a deeper why than just making money for businesses. So absolutely. I just see that correlation.
Yeah, great.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think that's incredibly important. Business is tough. You've got to have a reason more than money to do your business. And so my why is all about helping busy business owners who I admire. Anyone who's got a business and have been in it for more than 5 years, I admire them, because you've overcome a lot of hurdles internally and externally in the marketplace. And you've got to have a reason that's bigger than just making a wage or making money for your future.
Yeah.
It's got to be about making a difference, about helping people. So for me, it's about helping release potential. I love to see business ideas released and made possible. So helping a business owner release their potential in their idea and their vision, and then getting a team together. Because when people hire individuals, they think they have a team, but they haven't. They've got a group of people they've hired. It's not a team yet, but it's helping the potential of a team to come together and people to start working together and communicating together and understanding one another and understanding what the business is all about and catching the why and the passion for it. It's so exciting to watch your business, the team catch that, and productivity and profitability automatically rises once the team's potential is tapped. And that's where I'm good. That's where I do my best work, I think.
Yeah. And so when you realized that and you kind of focused in on it, you started to see that growth, and you picked up. So I want to get to some questions like later about some practical stuff when the leadership stuff that you're talking about, but also like how can we actually grow our business using story and why, like our why.
Yes.
So I'll get to that in a sec, but I think what we're talking about that really is interesting to me right now is that the marriage of art and business, or story and business, is so important. So for example, there's business leaders that will neglect their why, or they won't tell stories. They won't have a reason for their impact. They won't have a message, and their business suffers for it. But then on the other side, we've got passionate business leaders who have like a message. They're doing it because they love it. They might be artists. They might be, storytellers, but they don't know how to make a profitable business. So they can't actually make impact. So you need to have both. And then I find that that's what makes it stick. That's what makes things actually have impact. Yeah.
I think that's absolutely true. And that when people ask me, what do you do? I come back with, well, I love to help business owners release the potential in their ideas, their vision, and their team. Yeah. So I don't tell them what I do. I tell them why. I answer with the why to their what question. I think that's, and I teach my clients to do the same thing, because it engages people at a whole nother level, and they go, oh, okay, how do you do that? Then you can tell them what you do.
So good. Yeah.
So, and same with the why, the story. Like, you're good at telling video stories behind the business and connecting with people emotionally. I think telling people what you do and the basics of it, even explaining your process, doesn't inspire anybody. It doesn't move people much. But when you tell the story, and stories about my story, why I'm here, and then stories about how I help my clients, and a couple of client case studies or testimonials, stories of how it's made a difference in their world. That's what moves people and says, yeah, I want some of that. So it's very important to the marketing process and the buying process, the sales process.
Definitely. So do you have any tips for someone who's like, I'm in business, I'm really focused on the business side, but I'm lacking that passion or that why, and I don't know how to tell stories. I don't know how to make anything really make someone care about what I'm doing. Do you have any tips when it comes to that?
Well, I like, I ask a lot of questions of a person like that if they want to engage me, or even just an exploratory conversation, which I do that with people, because sometimes people are blind to their own story. It's like they're not sure what their passion is. I actually think most people don't know what they're passionate about. They kind of know. Some people know what they don't want to do, but to articulate their passion clearly takes time. And you need to be around people who feed back to you, who give you good feedback and are willing to be honest with you. Um, so if you're struggling with that, with clarifying what your passion is, why you're doing what you do, get with someone who can draw you out a bit. That's what part of the role of a mentor. And a mentor doesn't tell you what your passion should be. It just helps you uncover it because it's already there. And get past just the money or the mechanics of what you do to the difference you make in people's lives.
Yeah, and so good.
And then if you grow a business and employ people, if you employ people to a task-oriented role, tasks don't really motivate people.
Yeah.
But if there's a vision of making a difference in the lives of others, everybody wants to make a difference.
Yeah.
It's one of the key motivating factors of why people would work back late or put in effort beyond just what they're paid for. They need to, if they feel like, hey, what I do makes a difference, not just to my boss's income, but to the lives of people we're serving, that's what starts to get people excited and committed and motivated beyond what a paycheck will do.
Definitely.
And then lots of things you can do as well. But I think think about the clients you serve. How do you make a difference in their world?
Yeah.
People selling insurance or selling a product, you're solving somebody's problem. What's the problem you're solving?
Yeah.
And how much is that worth to them to have that problem solved? If you're solving problems for people, you'll have a business. If you've got something that's nice to have but not must have and doesn't really solve any problems, then you've got something that's going to be hard to sell.
Yeah.
So hard to monetize.
Very helpful point. So I think what you just said about if you have a business owner who's doing what they're doing, they don't really know their why. They might have a why. They might have they might feel it, but they don't know how to articulate it. So in that case, get around someone like a mentor or someone like, even when I do videos for people and they don't know their why sometimes, but I help dig it out. So get around someone else that you can see they've got a clear message, and they can tell that about themselves and ask them to, pick at you a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all need help with that. So I have mentors, I have coaches. I always have since 2010. There's only about 6 months, well, a couple of years ago, where I was without a coach. I was in between. So I always have somebody speaking into my life. I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in my own education and learning and growth, because I'm blind to me. I'm really good at helping others, but the person I find hardest to help is me.
Yeah.
And the trouble is, I'm my own competitor. I don't worry about competition, other coaches, other mentors. My competitor looks at me from the mirror every morning because I'm the one who can stuff my life up better than anybody else. So I need help all the time. I think if you've got that attitude of wanting to be learning, being curious, letting someone close enough to speak into your world, then you can't go wrong. Unless I guess you just got to be a little bit choosy about who you hire. But assuming you've got somebody good, it's such an important part of the growth process. Otherwise, we're butting up against our own mistakes, and the only thing that we learn from is our mistakes. Yeah, that's a very, very painful way to learn.
Yeah, definitely. And another good tip for if you don't know your why, maybe ask yourself, if I could earn the maximum amount of money I could possibly earn with whatever I'm doing, what would I do then? And what kind of impact would, get me excited? But then also, I think there's sometimes you pull out an artificial why, or you're trying to, put it on something. Do you have any tips to avoid coming up with some arbitrary or random why that doesn't really come from you?
I think it evolves a bit throughout your life.
Yeah.
I'm in my 60s now. I feel like I'm in my 20s still, but feel like I'm still just learning. But I've noticed a few things. There's not many people under the age of 35 who are very good at knowing themselves well. I think there's something happens mid-30s, occasionally a bit earlier, and occasionally later, but something happens in that period of life where you've got enough history to look back on, where you've made some mistakes, you've bumped up against difficult things, You've got enough personal history to know yourself fairly well if you're self-aware, and then that's when you reach out and start to ask for help. I think up until that point, if you're under 35, and I know you are, Lucas,
you're not cancelled out. Yeah, I'm under 35.
don't take this negatively.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can be curious and learn at any age, but there's a point where you start to get perspective. So knowing yourself really well is so important to building a business, because you want to build a business around that works for you.
Yeah.
So I work with some business owners that have been in business for 15 years, and they really hate a lot of what they do. It's become a chore and a burden and stress, and they're working stupid hours and they don't know how to do anything different. So the first thing I do is help them say, okay, who are you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Let's acknowledge your strengths. Let's admit your weaknesses. And that's where you build staff in to help you with your weaknesses. If you're not great with details, don't bust your nut to try and work on that, because you're probably very good with people. So what are your strengths? Build on that, staff your weaknesses, and build your business so it works around you and works for you. And that's a really important part of growing a business strong long term. And it comes with knowing yourself well. Same with goal setting.
Yeah.
A lot of people struggle with goal setting because you've got to know yourself well, what you can achieve in a week or a month, how focused you are, and all of that stuff. And if you don't know yourself well, sorry, I had a phone call here.
All good.
If you don't know yourself well, then you're going to struggle you're going to struggle to set goals and to achieve them. So
Definitely.
There's all of that learning. I'm still learning. And in fact, it's one of my values, lifelong learning.
Yeah.
In the modern economy where people have numbers of careers and jobs and businesses, it's normal now. You've got to keep learning. Some of my friends over 50s age group who complain a bit that it's hard to find employment over 50. I thought, well, what are you learning? What are you doing for the first time that you've never done before? Where are you stretching?
Yeah.
And if the ones that are stretching and learning and growing don't have as much trouble getting jobs or starting a new business or whatever than the ones who are trying to look back 20 years ago and say, well, I did all my learning back then. I don't need to learn anymore.
Even just innovating, like taking your business into the modern context,
Right.
Yeah. So let's pick your brain about leading people, and how does, this kind of idea of story or your why help motivate, or like what's some tips or ideas to help people who have teams take their business into the next level?
Okay. People need to understand your vision. And if you can tell a story that this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, maybe it may come out, it's got to come out of something personal to you.
Yeah.
If that's caught, like people get it. If you're telling a story that's made up or that's kind of forced, like you were saying before, then it doesn't resonate. When it's really coming from you and you know yourself well and it flows from you rather than in a forced way, then people catch it far quicker.
Yep.
And you can tell stories that help people get it and get the nuances of the story. Then culture. If culture comes out of your values. So if you know your values well, not just some people have a value statement for their business and it's on the wall or it's in a brochure somewhere, but it's not lived.
Yeah.
So it's got to come out of who you really are. This is what's really important to me as I go about doing business and pursuing my vision. And then culture is unpacking your values and saying, well, this is how we do stuff around here.
Yeah.
And if people catch your culture, and I help businesses create a culture statement. So it's all of this is the positive things that we encourage and validate around our business. And these are some of the things that we definitely don't want to see around here. We don't want people talking behind each other's backs. So we don't want people telling people what they should do, but never offering to help. And it's very basic, but it's amazing if you articulate it, make it clear, then you develop a company culture because everyone's personal family background and history is different. And some people, have a messy car and a messy room and a house, and they don't think it's a problem. But if they then bring that mess into the work kitchen, it doesn't bless anybody. So you've got to create a work culture that lifts everybody to the same level.
Yeah.
And if there's story behind that, this is the reason why we're here. This is the difference we're making. And this is what's important to us as we go about that. You create incredibly positive atmosphere in which people work.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things when they do surveys of what's important to people as an employee in a workplace, the kind of a leader that's supportive and encouraging is right up there in the top 5. And the atmosphere that's set in the workplace. I want my workplace to be a great place to come where I can build relationships, where it's encouraging. Again, that tone is set by the leader.
Yeah.
And a lot of business owners don't realize they set the tone. So some days they come in grumpy, some days they come in stressed, some days they come in all happy, but they're setting the tone whether they realize it or not. So you've got to deal with yourself so that before you get to work and bring the right atmosphere. So that's some of the things you got to do if you want to lead a team well.
Yeah.
And then make sure everybody knows their role and how to support one another.
Very practical and very helpful. I think it's interesting how it comes from the idea of this story and actually living it out, not making it up just because it's what you need to lead a team or what you need to connect with your target market. Your target market can smell a mile away if it's not genuine, like your story, your message. Same with your team.
It either flows or it's forced, and people tell. And it either resonates or it doesn't. So that's why you got to do the work on yourself, and not just once for 3 months. I think it's an ongoing working on yourself and learning and growing. I believe small business success or any business success is a personal growth journey.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to grow personally, you won't grow your business.
So true. Yeah. All right. And one more kind of direction that I want to take this in, just because I know you're super helpful when it comes to goal setting and, directing, say, passion in the right direction and actually achieving goals. So now we're talking more about the business owners who have their why, they're passionate. They might be artists, they might be storytellers, and they're trying to sell their passion to make a living or to make, a big business. What are some starting off tips that you would give to someone in that position if they're just not finding momentum? Like, where do they start?
You need to know, the clearer you know what you want from your business, the easier it is to plan, to set goals and to plan. Yeah. And that's the order. So clarifying your vision is really important. And vision's like a mountain you're going to climb. This is in some ways you may never reach it, or if you do reach it, you'll sell your business. And that's okay. So that's one of the reasons to go into business, is to create something that's worth selling. Yeah. But the clearer you are and what you want, and again, a lot of business owners I talk to aren't sure what they want out of their business. They've kind of got a glorified job. They haven't really got a business that's growing and becoming, and they learning to treat the business as an entity that ideally runs itself. Because if without you, your business doesn't function, you kind of haven't got a business, you've got a job. Yeah. So it's about creating the systems and the people and the people and the processes really that enable the business to function and serve whatever vision you've got, and in a way that you don't have to be there all the time. And that's the long range plan. So to get to that, you need to know ideally what you'd like to achieve, and then set some goals for the next 12 months that take you in that direction, and then make plans for those goals. Goals without plans are just wishes. So you can write down whatever goals you like, but if you don't have a clear plan to make it happen, unless you've got a fairy godmother hiding somewhere, it's not going to happen. Yeah. So I believe in that longer range vision, like a picture of where you want to be, but then annual goals, setting 12-month goals, either financial year or calendar year, and then 90-day planning.
Yeah.
And then, because so much happens that changes. 2020 is a great example of things that can change dramatically.
Yeah.
But even in a non-COVID year, or where we don't have such dramatic shifts, things change in our lives and in our businesses. So 90 days plans, and work towards those, and make sure that you are doing something about your plans every day, as well as serving your clients and doing what you need to do to make the business function every day.
So
and then
good.
Work out what your you need a daily routine that gives you time to focus on, working on your goals and the plans to achieve your goals. If you're so busy every day that you haven't got time to work on your goals, or you can only do it at night when you should be with your family, then you've got to rejig your routine and learn to set some boundaries. So again, a personal growth journey.
So, it's so true. Like if you, I've heard you say, if you're as the leader, you're the lid to your business or whatever you're leading. Yeah. So if you can grow yourself, you'll just see the byproduct of the things around you, the team around you, start to grow.
Exactly.
And also what you're saying about the 90-day plan, it's so, I mean, the full planning, like I've done, for people who don't know, I've done a workshop with John, which he does a quarterly planning, and it really helps you. Like he helps you break down what kind of long-term plan and how you can achieve that, all the way down to the point where you now know, okay, this week I'm doing this for my big goal. And it just gives you so much focus. And then you're not going to let your schedule be so fluid, because everything you're doing is for a purpose. So that's a little plug for John. If anyone wants to do his 90-day planning workshop, which it doesn't take 90 days to plan, it takes a morning, let me know and I'll put you in touch. But John, is there any last little golden nuggets that you want to share when it comes to making your business stick?
I think the storytelling aspect, you've taught me a bit about that, because the video that you did for me, the video business card, it's this 90-second video where Lucas got pulled out of me basically what I do. So I have a whole of life approach to business. I help people to create business plans in the context of their life plans. So it integrates, your work integrates with your life, because the main things that undermine your success in business actually come from neglected areas of your personal life, your health, or marriage issues, or children issues, or something like that. So it's important that you learn how to do both. So Lucas put a video together, and he hired some actors, and so told 3 stories while I was talking over the top. There was a visual story going on with me telling a little bit about what I do. And it's quite moving. I remember the first time I watched it, it kind of stunned me into silence, because I didn't know all the bits that he was going to put into it. That's awesome. The story is moving. It moved me, and it was about me. So, and I've showed it to thousands of people since, and it always has incredible impact, because most people are juggling life in ways that are a bit out of control, and want what I help people get.
And so, I think your story was because you have a deep why, you have obviously the history of your life, which leads you to really want to help businesses in this way. For someone like me who's a storyteller, instead of trying to just show off your business, instead of trying to show that you do meetings with people, you do workshops and all that, I think it's connecting with the why and what people care about. So that's why I did those scenes. If you actually tell the story from the perspective of someone in that life, they're going to be like, wow, I feel exactly like that. You're speaking to me. And then now I've captured their attention to say, okay, now listen to what John has to say about how you can get out of this. So that's why story is so important in marketing. But as we've talked about, it applies in all these different ways to see your business just grow. So, Awesome.
I put that video out on LinkedIn. I think it was the second time I put it out. I don't know what makes things go viral, but
Me
it
neither.
got 4,000 or 5,000 views and lots of comments. And I had, because my phone number's on my LinkedIn profile, and I had a guy ring me. I had no clue who it was. And the first thing he says, my wife hates me. Can you help me? I
Wow.
said, hello, who is this? He said, I just watched your video on LinkedIn. And he said, my wife, I work all the time, and my wife says she hates me. It's causing all sorts of problems.
Wow.
Can you help me? And so I worked with that guy for about 6 months. He wasn't great at listening to me either, but we helped him quite a lot. And met his wife, and she was thanking me for some things at least. So, but that led to, it was more than enough. He paid me way more than I paid for the video
That's so
to
good.
work with him and his team for. So that was one response that came from that. So it does have incredible impact when you can tell the story well, and Lucas does that better than most using video.
Thanks, John. And I didn't even know that. That's a really interesting story that he just called you up and you barely knew the guy.
I didn't know him at all.
Wow. That's so good. Well, let's wind it down there. Thank you so much, John, for sharing all your knowledge. If any of you want to connect with a business mentor who's really going to be able to take you to the next level, definitely get in touch with John. But other than that, thanks again, John. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.